Cornish Mutual, farming insurance experts.
Hello and welcome to this bonus episode of Farming Focus, the podcast for Southwest farmers brought to you by Cornish Mutual. I'm your host, Peter Green, and today we're thinking again about the challenge of being isolated on farms. Farming can absolutely be rewarding, but it can also be incredibly stressful, particularly in smaller farming businesses like those that we have many of in the Southwest. One person is often responsible for all elements of running that business, and in addition, they've got to deal with the unsociable hours, the unpredictable weather, and often the challenge of being alone for much, if not all, of their working day. Today, we're focusing on practical strategies for managing the pressure that this can place on farmers and those supporting them, and on looking after ourselves, no matter how busy life on the farm gets. Joining me again are Emma O'Sullivan, founder of the DPJ Foundation, and Cornish farmer James Warwick. Emma, I'll come to you first of all. For farmers who are constantly busy, what are some small daily steps that they can take to look after their mental health?
I think, we all kind of get busy and we kind of, the days passes by without even kind of considering where they've gone really. But I think, a really sort of easy small step to make is just on making sure that you have that day, that time throughout that day planned out. Whether that is you have your lunch in the house, sitting with family or whoever that might be, if that's the thing that you do every day, you've got that planned out and you stick to it. It's too easy to think, I'm too busy, I'm just going to keep going and go through lunch or whatever that might be. Or it might be just as something as simple as before, fetching the cows to milk, you take 5 minutes to sit down. It's just mapping out at some point during that day something that you will achieve that is for you and not for anything else other that is going on there. And by kind of having that, routine or whatever that might be, it might be a weekly thing potentially, going for a swim on a sit at night, or going for a run or a cycle or whatever, going for a pint with your friends down the pub. Having that thing that you stick to, that routine, that can really support with kind of those busy days that tend to get taken over with everything. And like I said, sticking to it is really important. No matter if something crops up that it seems like you can't do it, stick to it because it's for you.
Yeah, I was just making a note saying protect that time for you, and I was underlining that many times. It's that piece around making sure that there is something for you, and I guess in a way you're showing yourself that you matter, that you count. In the main episode last week, we spoke about the fact that friends are there for us and they care for us. You matter, and it's that same point again, but thinking of it from our own lens, isn't it? It's telling ourselves that we matter.
The same consideration to ourselves that we would give to our livestock as well. We spend huge amounts of time giving time to our livestock and our farm and our buildings and our businesses. There's that old age saying, if you can't pour from an empty cup, and we're giving all our time to the livestock and everything else that's going on. And maybe, if we've got families, our children, and they're taking up all our time, it's important that we dedicate that own time to ourselves as well. So
absolutely. So James, Emma's talked there about the importance of making time, planning it, protecting it for ourselves. Does that resonate with you?
100%. Yeah. I sit down on a Sunday evening every week and go through a job list, so I know what I've got to do that week, which helps me massively to keep my head and my composure through the week. So I don't so it's not just all up in my head. Writing stuff down helps massively, just so you know what your weekly plan is. But and as silly as it sounds, another thing that I make sure that I do every single day is I make sure I have breakfast, no matter what time it is. If I go off early in the morning I do a bit of relief milking for a friend, I always make sure I come back and have breakfast before I go out and do my own yard work. Or if I take lambs early in the morning or whatever, I'll come back in, have a cup of coffee before I start anything else. And having breakfast just sets the day out right.
It's an important punctuation piece, isn't it? It can help us.
It sounds silly, but yeah.
No, not at all. It can help us make time to plan, whether that's to write our to-do list, which I'm absolutely getting on board with. I love a plan. Or to get your head completely out of it. I know a farmer who is a friend, and he loves a podcast, and he makes time to listen to a 20-minute podcast every morning that has nothing to do with farming. That really, really works for him. And the point there about writing things down, when I've got a lot in my head and I'm having trouble sleeping, the notepad that I keep beside my bed is just invaluable. The hours of sleep that thing has given me by allowing me to take thoughts that won't leave my head because it's dark outside and that's when the thoughts go around and can't get out, just writing them down and knowing that in the morning they'll still be there, they'll still be on that notepad. I'm not going to forget them. I can address them then when it's daylight. Things all look better. That's so powerful for me. So I really like your point there about having a plan, about writing down, and about
you just feel like you're achieving more as well.
Yep.
That's like you, and that's when you start feeling like you're going to accomplish stuff and that you're doing all right in life, is because that to-do list, as the week goes on, starts getting smaller and smaller, and you actually feel like you're achieving something in that week and in that day. And I love coming in the evening, and I'm really, really sad, but I love coming in the evening and going, right, I've done that, boom, right, let's get on with tomorrow.
Fantastic. So Emma, are there simple techniques to manage stress during particularly busy periods on the farm?
I suppose it's really difficult to kind of pinpoint anything in particular because it is so individual. And I think, like James was saying about his list, I think that's a brilliant idea. And I've essentially built my teaching career around that. I plan every day, every hour with my lovely class of 4-year-old children, and it's done to a T. And there's nothing better at the end of the week being, yep, done. And I think that's brilliant. But I think, stress is something that is so individual, and it's something that we all deal with very differently. Myself, if I can feel myself getting really stressed and really overwhelmed, the best thing that I can do is go and take myself off for a walk somewhere. Because I know that I'm at my worst probably. I've been a bit unwell over the weekend. So I sat down on the sofa most of Saturday, which is not like me in the slightest. And by the Saturday night, I'd probably done my own head in, if I'm completely honest. So that get stressed with different things. So I should have done this, I should have done that, and blah, blah, blah. So I get up, I go and do something. I went and put on my illuminated lights ready for my tractor run next Saturday. My John Deere's got some beautiful reindeer antlers going on. It's all got a bit too far, but it's just doing whatever works for you, essentially, and that is completely individual. It could be as simple as sitting down in front of the telly, which is something which is probably a lot of people don't do, and just watching a television program or reading the newspaper, picking up a podcast. And it's those things that I know I mentioned previously about emptying your bucket. It's those things that make you feel good. It's all very well me telling you, and I know that when I started the charity, I started doing some education for myself around mental health awareness, and one of the things on the mental health awareness course was, go outside, get some fresh air. And I was thinking, I can't tell farmers to go outside and get a fresh air. That's not going to make them feel any better. It's like they need to go in and sit down and put their feet up. And it's not a one box fits all situation. It's very much something that is personal to you. And like I mentioned, just finding that thing that is good for your stress relief and making sure you find that time to do it is really important. Personally, I've suffered with my own mental health and anxiety issues, and I find things like breathing exercises really help. I find like I could get quite panicky at times about things, and I know that's really common. One of the things that happened with my husband was panic attacks, which felt like heart attacks, and which can be really frightening. So it's understanding that when those things happen, and just being able to take a deep breath and kind of ground yourself a little bit, which sounds a little bit kind of out there, but being able to just regulate your breathing and your heart rate can make such a massive difference to how you feel in yourself. And it's something even as simple as kind of, I do sort of squared breathing, where you can, you breathe in for 5, so you go up, and then you sort of go across to the side of the square, breathe out, and breathe in and out, and just keep doing that and holding your breath, breathing in, hold, out, hold, and just keep doing that to regulate that heart rate is really important. And there's so many different techniques you can do for that.
Yeah, and you say it can sound a bit out there, and I know an Australian farmer who talks about some of the things, the techniques which he's employed as being woo-woo, but actually he talks about finding your woo-woo. Find what works for you. There are different things that can be done for different people, and there are places where we can try them where it's really safe. Like if you're in the cab of a tractor, the cab of the truck, the Land Rover, no one else needs to know you're trying a breathing exercise. Just crack on, just try it. What's the worst that can happen?
Simple things such as like singing your favorite song, for example. I love nothing better when I'm having a really rubbish day. Music on, full blast. I love a bit of Luke Combs. He goes on full blast, singing at the top of my lungs. And I feel a load better after I've blasted that out, and it's just that kind of taking your mind off whatever's going on is really important.
I'm going full Taylor. I'm sorry. It's
that's out there. So, we're not judging.
As we come to the end of the episode, though, I guess one thing that does come to mind, that we haven't necessarily addressed so much this week in the bonus or last week in the main episode is that the challenges and stresses of the farming life that we've got don't just affect the farmer, and actually family, employees, even those in supporting industries can be deeply affected. And I just think it's really important to bear this in mind when we're sort of framing this. It's not always just about the farmer, although that obviously can be a really pressurized and isolated role. But the question for you both as we close, if you could give just one quick tip to somebody listening today to try and improve their mental well-being, what would it be? James, you first.
Take time for yourself. You make sure you have breakfast in the morning and don't go rushing through the day. And if you are having a difficult time, then just do one thing on that to-do list, and then take it easy for the rest of the day. Go off and have a walk, like Emma said, or put a podcast on that is completely different to farming. I'm a bit of a sucker for The Rest is Football with Gary Lineker, and I love that, and that just takes me away from having to think about farming and that, and I can think about football, and it's fantastic. And that's what I would say.
So be kind to yourself and make that time. So Emma, if someone came to me today and said they were struggling, what one bit of advice would you give on how to respond?
My advice would be it is okay to ask for help and step out and ask for help. I would say most definitely talk to the people that are around you. But if you don't feel like you're comfortable with that, then reach out to the other organisations that are out there. There are some incredible things happening within our sector. And, our sector gets a lot of bashing at times. But one thing we're really good at is looking after each other at the times that we need it. And that's one thing that we've got so many organisations out there specifically for our community that, are there to help us. And we're not like other organisations. I'm a teacher, I've got HR and things like that. We don't have that within our organisation, but we do have is charities that know our industry inside out, which is why, for example, like our call line is 24 hours a day, because you mentioned it, the worst times are in the night when it's dark, and you can't just ring up 9 till 5. It doesn't work like that. That's not how we were. And so don't be afraid to reach out and get help. There are wonderful people out there doing amazing things that can really support you, and I highly recommend that don't just wait for things to get really bad. The minute you start to feel like you're not feeling yourself, that is when you need to reach out, because the earlier that you can get hold of this, the better it is in the long run.
Brilliant. Emma O'Sullivan, founder of the DPJ Foundation, and James Warwick, thank you so much for coming on today.
Cornish Mutual, farming insurance experts.